Thinking about selling my house. Why do some homes sell so quickly and other homes sometimes sit on the market for 3 months or more? Hey, so got a couple questions for you this morning. I am thinking about selling my house, and I'm not sure if this is really the right time to be selling with all the craziness that's going on in the markets and so forth. But
Sure.
what should I do?
Well, glad you asked. It's a pretty common thing with people, right? So, my first question to you would be when you're thinking about selling, what's going through your head? Like, what's your goal? What's your plan here? If you could sell today, like, what would that do for you, right? Is this strictly tethered to something like financing? Are you looking to downgrade? Are you trying to upgrade? Are you trying to relocate? Uh, what does the scenario look like for you?
Well, in my situation currently, I am looking to downgrade. I've got a bigger house and I'm looking to go with something a little bit smaller.
Sure. Okay. Well, as far as like it being the right time, I could say that we've not experienced a seasonal market at all. And what I mean by that is usually buyers and sellers every year for the past several years, they would like fall back on the cold season and they would wait until about spring and then they'd all come back at the same time, right? We haven't experienced that from 2024 going into 2025, which is crazy. So that's been pretty consistent. So to me, it's not a matter of time. It's more so on your end. If it makes sense for you to move now or soon, yeah, it doesn't matter to me. That's going to be on you. So I would say if you're looking to move in the next, what, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, yeah, if it's going to be within a year, you're going to want to start planning today because the market doesn't just wait and, home zones are selling accident, right? You have to plan this stuff out.
Yeah, so that leads me kind of to another question. So why do some homes sell so quickly and other homes sometimes sit on the market for 3 months or more?
Man, you're on fire with these questions. Uh, I take it that you might have seen some homes doing that, right? Maybe even
Yeah.
in the neighborhood you're living in. So it's going to come down to price. No matter what, it's always about the price of condition, price of location, price of whatever. But we have to prove that your house has the value that you want. And right now, a lot of sellers, they come into this selling their house emotionally. They're so attached to whatever it is. And what ends up happening is if a buyer is going to come through your house and they want to put in an offer, let me actually just say this, probably 90% or more buyers that are interested in putting an offer on your house are going to be using financing. Now, you being a lender yourself, you already know if they're going to use financing, what is going to be required for them to get approved for that loan at closing?
An appraisal.
Right. And that appraisal is going to make a professional opinion on what that value of that home is. So we have to price it strategically. And we have to know that we're going to be able to sell it for the value that it's worth. And if you want to strategically get more than that, we have to sit down and game plan that specifically. You can't just throw it on the market and expect it to just sell like a car, right? There's three major things involved here. There's price, exposure, and presentation. And the exposure part, again, you can't just throw it on Zillow or something and be like, hey, it's going to sell. That's not reality. I know a lot of people think that. However, presentation, you're going to want to consider things like staging, lighting, small repairs, landscaping, stuff like that, because you need to be competitive with other homes in the market. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So when it comes to the appraisal, would I want to maybe pay for an appraisal before I put that on the market to see what it's actually the value is?
Some think that that might be a great idea. I'm going to say 80% of the time, no, because you're already putting a professional opinion on the home when a buyer who's using financing is still going to have to actually get an appraisal done anyway, right? And they're going to pay for it. So why spend money out of your pocket to get a professional opinion? Let me put it this way. If you hired three appraisers at the same time to appraise your house, you're going to get three different opinions, anywhere from $3,500 to $7,500 on average in difference. That's up or low. So at the end of the day, you might as well just wait for that buyer, because that buyer is going to have to get an appraisal done anyway.
Got it. And so when you're talking to me potentially about the price point, you are doing some numbers, you're kind of running comps in the local area and seeing what's sold for that similar houses in my area.
Yeah, yeah. I'm bringing you data, and data doesn't lie, right? These are facts. And when you run with these numbers, we're going to get an idea of what it would appraise at. Now, these homes that sold at whatever price, they could have appraised more. They might have even appraised less. We don't know what the terms were.
Yeah.
There is something called an appraisal gap that can exist, which is people paying more than appraisal value that they can't get approved for with the loan, right? So that has to come out of pot.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. So what do you think is really the biggest mistake a sellers make that, leaving money on the table or not being able to sell it for the most amount of money?
Yeah, well, again, it's going to tie back into price right off the bat. Again, with sellers, they want to price their home emotionally rather than logically. Again, so if I'm bringing you facts and data that proves the value of your home, or I would say around that value, we're going to want to go with that, because otherwise you're risking losing thousands of dollars on the table by pricing your house way too high already. Now, if you tell me, well, I know my house is worth 300,000, but I can't prove that with any facts or data, and I can only come up with 250,000,
Yeah.
what's going to happen, right? Your house is going to sit there. That goes back into the second question of why homes sell fast and they don't, right? So your home's going to end up being one that sits there on the market, and you might get one offer, and they're going to want every testing, all the contingencies under the sun, because you have no leg to stand on. So again, we have to be strategic here. So I will say that if you're going to sell your house, you definitely want to look at these facts and data, be competitive, trust the process. Now, I've listed homes at like 290,000 and got 335,000. Why? Because we are pricing it strategically based on other homes that are still for sale that are similar in the same neighborhood. People are going to come to your house first, and if they want to write an offer and they know that they have to get it in now because of all the competition, they might not even look at the other homes. They're sitting down, putting an offer on your house. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. So the biggest mistake is sellers wanting to emotionally price it that is not a price to sell. They're basically um, trying to get more than really what it's probably worth.
Well, yeah, I mean, think about it. So you want to sell your house. You've been there for so long. You put in some work, you did some flooring and stuff. Maybe you even did a bunch of stuff that's not really adding value, but it's important to you. Like, hey, I wanted to use 24 karat gold nails in all the trim. That doesn't add value to your house. You
Yeah.
added an in-ground pool because you wanted to. That doesn't add value to your house. We're in Wisconsin, not Florida.
Right.
So these are things you got to consider. And in that being said, you're just pouring all these emotions into the fact that you did so much. You've spent so much time in that house. You've maybe had kids in that house, whatever. It's sentimental. So you're thinking, I know what my house is worth. Well, then why are you trying to sell it? If you're trying to sell it, it's no longer your house mentally. You have to detach. You have to choose one or the other. You want to hold on to it because it means something to you, or you want to sell it because you have a future chapter you're trying to start writing. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, well, that's great information. Good to know. Do you have a process that you go through with sellers, when they're looking to sell?
Absolutely. Everything comes down to a consultation. The most important thing to me for you, if you're trying to sell, is I need to understand your entire mindset, your why, your goal. What result are we trying to achieve here so that I can do everything in my power to get you that or exceed that? 75% of the time, I can exceed that. So you need to know what the market's doing. I need to know what your mindset's doing. And we need to collide those together and build a connection so we can get the results that you deserve.
That's awesome. That's great to know. Thank you, Alejandro. I'll be in
Yeah,
touch.
absolutely.